Hi, Bill here with 30-Minute Wood Shop. Thanks for joining. Today I want to show you how to make a blanket ladder. All right, so my cousin, Debbie, is an absolutely amazing quilter. She quilts, man, she's a crazy quilter, let's put it that way. Does it all the time. Her mom, her grandma, my mom, my great aunts, all these ladies are, crazy crafters or have been crazy crafters, and quilting is one of the big things they had done. I have a bunch of quilts from my mom, my grandma, so I'm going to be making one for me, and I think I'm making one for Debbie too. But we're going to start with one. Easy to build. We're using these 2x2s for starters. Now, a couple things about using construction grade lumber for this kind of a project. You got to make sure you sand it really well, because you don't want those, basically you don't want those heirlooms getting caught on this, right? If you're using Afghans or something like that, getting caught on stray splinters and destroying them. So, that being said, if you want a drawing for this, check down here, 30minutewoodshop.com. You'll find a dimension sketch. Also, if you go to the bottom, you'll find some of the tools and things that I use. And on that note, let's start making. So one of the very first things you want to do is measure out and cut a couple of pieces for the side rails. Those are going to be about 6.5 feet long. So let's do a quick measurement here, and I want those to be 6 foot 6 inches, which is 78 inches. Let's do one quick thing here. That leaves me with 18 inches at the end, which is really what I'm looking for. My cross pieces are going to be 18 inches, which is about that long, which gives me plenty of room to hang, quilts and blankets. So I'm going to cut 2 of these pieces over on the radial arm saw at 78 inches. And then I'm going to cut 5 more at 18 inches. So I got 2 here at 18, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'll have 6 of them at 8. I'll cut all 6 of these at 18. See if the short one makes it. Oh, just barely. So I'll actually end up with 6 of them at 18, and I can, do what I want with those. Let's go over and start cutting. All right, a lot of sanding in front of us. I'm starting with 60 grit, running to 100, 150, 220, and all up to 300. I'm doing that because I want this silky smooth, so when you throw an Afghan or something over top of it, it doesn't snag. Let's get started sanding. Time for assembly. First thing we want to do is make sure the rails are set up appropriately. These are basically the back side to the back side. All right, so this is going to be the inside. All right, make sure you set up correctly, otherwise you may discover that you have to do a little extra cutting and fix some things. But let's do a quick layout here. Grab my pencil. So the first one's going to be at 12.5. First one's going to be at 12.5. Next one's at 26. Then 39.5. And then we have 53 and 66.5. So 53 and 66.5. Okay, so that's the bottom of all my rungs. Next thing I want to do is make sure I've marked across. I'm going to put a little X there so I know which side the rung goes on. And there we go. Now what we want to do is unclamp these. I just had them snugged up so that they wouldn't move around while I was working on them. And we'll lay these out. Okay, that's what it's going to look like whenever it's done. What we want to do now is put some glue on, clamp it in place, and then we're going to drill some screws into this. All I'm going to do is I'm going to drive the screws directly in from the outside inboard. Right, so super easy to do, not doing anything fancy. There's other ways you can do this. You can use Matter of fact, a couple of nails on each side would be just as good. But I'm using screws, so let's get this thing glued up. So all I've done here is I just marked the center line. I'm going to take a countersink here. I'm just going to drive my countersinks in. With the countersinks done and pilot holes in, I'm going to drop these 3-inch screws in. With the screws in, the clamps aren't needed. We're going to pull these off and then do some more work on it. Ready to put a finish on this. All I'm doing here is I'm going to throw on a wipe-on white, and this is a, matter of fact, this is an exterior semi-gloss that I happen to have laying around, latex paint. I mixed it like 2/3 to 1/3 paint to water, just to thin it out a lot. And I'm just going to wipe it on and kind of wipe it off. I'm going to give it a white wiped finish, kind of darker than a pickle, or heavier than a pickle. But it still had that kind of a, beachy kind of antique look. So we'll get started on that. And I have these 4 points. So once I get it done on all 4 sides, I can set it up in those points and I'll be good to go. Let's start painting. And this stuff is drying really fast. So the finishes turned out great. I really like the way it went on. It's like I said, it's like a heavy pickle. So I can still see the grain through in most places. It's a nice white. One of the things is, though, because I cut it with water, and this is pine, even though I sanded to 320, here and there's still some spots around here where the grain actually stood up. So what happens is those grain fibers, when they get wet, they kind of curl up. And so you can feel those in little spots here and there. I don't have to do this because I'm throwing some blankets over it, but I really want this to be really nice and smooth to the touch. I could use 320 or 400 grit sandpaper. It'd take all that down with a couple scuffs. Problem with that is that creates a very fine dust, and I don't want that dust getting on the blankets and things when I throw them over this. And it's real hard to get rid of too, by the way. So here's an old furniture maker's trick. My dad taught me. He used to be a furniture maker back in the 40s. 30s. Basically, all you do is take some brown paper bag, and you're going to take a piece, wad it up, and then you're going to burnish all the surfaces. And all that means is you're going to just rub on it. Rub it fairly hard, and that's going to cause all the little fine hairs, all right, little fine pieces to lay over, okay, and make a really smooth surface. So all you just wad it up and rub on it. And boy, I tell you what, that just smooths that thing out like crazy. So I'm going to do that to all the rest of these rungs and the sides. All right, and then we're done, and that'll be the end of the project. So let me finish this up, and I'll be back. Wow, this project turned out amazingly well. It fits perfectly. And this project was so easy to do and cheap, I can't even believe it. Take a couple of 2x2s, chop them up, glue them together, and screw them together, paint it up, and you're ready to rock. This is definitely one of those projects anybody can do with a handsaw. Matter of fact, really all you need for this thing is a handsaw and a screwdriver to get it done. Obviously having other tools helps, but hey, if you're interested in making this project, okay, all you got to do is check down here, 30minutewoodshop.com, and there's a dimension sketch. You can find that, okay? Also down there at the bottom, if you go to the bottom where it says see more, there'll be a link. You can follow that. And there's also some links down there to tools and things I use. You may find them interesting or something that you might need. Take a check, look those over, have some fun with it. And hey, if you got something out of this, do me a favor and like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate that. And until next time, folks, good making.